Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today, and for this video I'm going to be going over the top 5 priests in the game of Girls X Battle 2. This was actually brought to me by a guildmate who asked me what the roles of support characters play in this game, and because they're so diverse, I figured the best way to kind of answer that question would be to quantify the best support girls and kind of lay out what they're supposed to do. And support kind of naturally falls under the priest class in this game for the most part. There are probably a few exceptions, but priests are generally the ones that are going to fill that role. And I wanted to do this because I know the community loves these kinds of videos anyway and loves this kind of content. So I figured this is a way to get two birds with one stone. And these evaluations are not going to be as in-depth as the girl overviews that I do, but they can still paint a picture of what I'm looking to get out of a character when I put them on my team. So let's start at number 5, and number 5 is going to be Blowy. And the reason why I chose her for number 5 and not any higher is because she is mostly a healing support or healing priest. And while heals are very good, especially hers with how much she can heal, the problem becomes girls that can one-shot you. And girls like Hexa can still end the fight before these heals become a factor, because these are heals over time. They're meant to heal each round for a nice little bit. They're not meant to save you from lethal damage. And because there is nothing like that right now except for resurrection skills, unfortunately I don't feel healing is amazing in the PvP arena. It's good, but it's not the best. There are exceptions, of course, mostly for PvE. Characters like Blowy are going to be very good for helping you survive through bosses. Unless a boss one-shots you, usually Blowy can help keep your team sustained for long enough that they can keep doing their damage cycling, and that way you can max out your damage over 15 rounds instead of getting wiped out on round like 4 or 5 or something like that. But for the most part, unfortunately, her heals are, while they're good, it's just that healing is a niche that's not quite optimal for PvP at least. Number 4 is going to be Hottie, and Hottie specifically, I kind of am torn about whether putting her here or 3rd, but I settled with this one mostly because I feel the girl that's in 3rd just does this similar job, just a little bit better. But the big thing that Hottie does is actually the speed increase. But the speed increase is not going to be as vital until you max out all of your units. Once all your girls are 10-star, then you start to see this speed become a big thing, because if there's speed discrepancies due to level disadvantage, you're probably not going to make it up for with this speed boost anyway. Of course, her attack boost is still awesome. The fact that you get 20 plus attack, and she reduces the 20% hit from your opponents as well, that's underrated, but it's not amazing, but it is nice. And she also gives another 29% attack when she gets below 50% health, as well as reducing the opponent's armor by 29%. So she actually facilitates damage incredibly well, but it's more niche for 10-star teams, which there are a lot of, don't get me wrong. If you have a full 10-star team and you're looking to facilitate those members a lot, Hottie can definitely do that. I just feel that the character we're going to be looking at in 3rd does it a little bit better. And that character is going to be, if I can find it here, Nani. And Nani does this in a bit of a different way, because not only does she increase the attack of your allies, but she decreases your enemy's attack. And she also places critical marks on your opponents. So she does a lot in terms of damage manipulation. Not only is she raising your damage, but she's lowering your opponents. And this is very important when you're looking at fighting someone like Hexa. If you can make it so Hexa just doesn't quite one-shot one of your girls, that can be a very big difference over the course of a fight. And something like this might have the impact you need. Not only that, but she also has her attack reduce all enemies' armor by 20%. So again, she's manipulating the damage in your favor, raising your attack, lowering your opponent's attack, lowering your opponent's armor. It's all going towards the same thing. And this one is a little bit different. This wears String Shield. It increases your armor by 42% for 3 rounds when she drops below 50% health. And one of the things this can help with, now it's not going to happen as often as you'd like, but this actually helps mitigate some of Sonia's damage. And Sonia is super popular right now, so any way that you can get rid of some of Sonia's damage, and this is one of the ways to do that. And it works in the way that Sonia will only counterattack you if her armor is higher than yours. So if you can find a way to get your armor high enough to the point where she won't counterattack anymore, you're reducing her output. And that is very important right now, because I feel like Priestess and Sonia right now are the dominant threats for top tier teams, and a lot of people are running them, especially with the last event giving out a Sonia. There's a lot more people with 9 and 10 star Sonias going around. And this is one of the few ways that you can help mitigate that. Now, it's not going to be super impactful. Don't get me wrong. This is not like the be-all, end-all counter to Sonia. But it does do a lot of work in terms of reducing her damage, and everything counts in that regard. Number 2 is going to be Kong Ming. And I think that this was pretty predictable because a lot of people know Kong Ming is super strong. But she also kind of fills a similar role to Blowy. So it's like, how can you justify having a healing priest as number 2, while in the number 5 spot you said that healing wasn't as valuable? And the main reason for that is that Kong Ming has a lot of things going in her favor for damage. Kong Ming is actually a deceptively strong DPS unit. Not only does she heal, and that heal lasts for 6 rounds too, so she doesn't quite have the total healing output of someone like Blowy, but her damage is just ridiculous. And you can look at her attack is not the highest. 26k is pretty good, but it's not amazing. But you look at this 262% attack damage for her ability. That's a lot. And then you have multipliers on her attack here, and her crit as well, which is a big thing. Her basic attacks still heal, which is nice, and they also grant 30% attack, which is, again, this is going to scale up pretty fast. So she ends up becoming a very high DPS threat. And this here effect is a amazing thing. It only lasts for 1 round is the only disadvantage when in terms of the silence, but she increases her own crit damage by 60% for 6 rounds, and this is where she can go crazy. If she is given a chance when she goes below 50% health, if she's not one-shot off of that mark, she can do a tremendous amount. She can deal 75% of your opponent's health in 1 shot. With this here combined with her attack, combined with the attack steal she has, or not steal, sorry, but the attack buff that she has, she ends up in an incredible spot to do a tremendous amount of damage, and that silence kind of just helps to make sure she doesn't get one-shot. Now, since it only lasts 1 round, it's kind of awkward, and her speed is bad, so generally if you have a silence that follows up an attack, it's not really going to be useful because this 1 turn counts the turn that it's activated, so usually you won't get too much out of that silence, but it can do something at least. It has a potential, and it's tied to another ability that's incredibly good, which is the crit damage boost. So overall, one of the best priests in the game, second best in my opinion, because heals are okay, but her damage is off the charts in terms of a priest. So you can get a priest that will heal, but will also pull her weight in DPS. And the number 1 priest right now, in my opinion, and probably most of you guys, is going to be Psychic. And there's a big thing going on here, and it overwhelms the rest of her kit, and that is when she goes below 50% health, she has a 75% chance to stun all enemies for 2 rounds. 75% chance to stun for 2 rounds is just ridiculous. The numbers on this are just, it's so nonsensical to think about that. You can use her as a tank in this sense. Put her in the first spot so that she takes a bunch of basic attacks, and then on the first ability proc, more than likely, she's going to end up stunning everyone else, causing their ultimates to be delayed by 2 full turns. And that is incredibly powerful. And it's not hard to use. Like, it is a bit circumstantial, but it still is incredibly easy to rely on, and it's going to do a ton of work. 75% chance for such a strong stun is incredible. And even if she just had that alone, she would be a top 5 priest. But she also has one of the best abilities in the game for a priest, and that is she puts this weakness status effect on the enemies she hits with her ability. And that means they take 50% extra damage. That is actually crazy. Like, the numbers that they've given Psychic are outrageous compared to everyone else. Like, these are flat numbers. These are numbers that you don't have to worry about whether or not they stack or things like that, because you're just putting a flat 50% damage boost. On girls like Hexa or Priestess or Kongming, any of these girls that are looking to do nice one-shot potential, this attack just makes them ridiculous. They will one-shot with this here weakness procced. That will happen. And not to mention that she also heals a little bit. Her heal is not super important, but it is there, so she is providing a little bit of actual support in terms of just maintaining your team, which is nice, again, versus bosses, PvE bosses, because not only will she help you sustain for those fights, but this 50% extra damage is huge. If you're looking at the top teams for like friend boss battle and you're wondering how they're able to hit such ridiculous numbers, I almost guarantee you Psychic is the reason why this is happening. If she keeps getting these abilities off and they keep getting hit for 50% extra damage, it just builds up incredibly quickly. So that's my opinion on the top 5 priests. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did I miss somebody? Did I make a mistake? I was considering trying to put Angel as the number 5, but I still couldn't quite do it. Multiple factors, mostly the fact that, again, she is a angel slash demon, so it's harder to fit her onto your team. But even if you were looking at it as just who's the best overall, no matter what, in terms of just their abilities in the fight, she is still a bit circumstantial. She takes a little while to ramp up, so it's harder to fit her in. But she is a good contender for number 5. I think she could bounce around there between 5 and 6. And if you did put her as number 5, I would understand it. I personally just would not. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.